In this video, we're going to take a look at how to take two different sets of data and join them up using a function called VLOOKUP. This is a great way if you have two sets of data in two different sheets that you can combine them together all on one tab. Let's jump into our practice data and take a look. Here we are in the practice data set that we've been using. We've talked about conditional formatting, we've talked about some other formatting suggestions, and done a very basic function. We're going to jump to a little more difficult function today, or a little more complex is maybe a better word to say it. In this particular spreadsheet, we have the data that we've been looking at here. It's on the first tab. You'll notice, super original name down here. The second tab is called More Data, where we have another set of the same students, same ID numbers, but now we have a special ed designation, and we have another quiz, another assessment piece that's not on that first tab. What we're going to talk about how to do today is to bring together this data, particularly this quiz, onto the first tab over here, because it's helpful to be able to view this information matched up so that we can see which students did, how did they perform on this other assessment as compared to their other tests. So what we're going to do is I'm going to add a column, right click, insert right. We're going to add a column here, and we will call this one Canvas Quiz. That's what it was called in the other tab. The name of the column is not particularly important. But what we're going to do is come through here, and we're going to use a function called VLOOKUP. VLOOKUP stands for vertical lookup. Basically what it does is it matches up, it searches vertically through a list of data and matches up a particular identifier, a search key, and then brings in some data that's connected to it. So like all functions in Google Sheets, we're going to start with the equals button. And then just start typing VLOOKUP, V-L-O-O, and that's probably enough to get it to pop up. There it is right there. Go ahead and click on it. And then again, this little card shows us everything we need to do to be able to complete this, this function. If you need to, you can click the expand button here. Also, I'll just point out, if you're not seeing the card, it's probably hidden here underneath this question mark. Go ahead and click that to expand it. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be matching up here with the search key and moving through all of the pieces. So the search key is what we're matching up. Now, sometimes we might use a student's name for this. In this case, better than a name, because sometimes we have students with similar or the same name, we're going to use the student's ID number. So I'm just going to click over here in cell A2. That's the student's ID number, and we'll add a comma right here. That brings us right from the search key to the next section, which is the range. So what we're going to need to do here is actually go and grab the range from this tab. Now, you can do this two different ways. You can click over here, and you can just highlight, and you'll notice your function stays up here even though we're on this other tab, but it's captured in that function right there, or the name of the range. What we can do here is, if you don't want to go to the place where that data is, you can also, let me get rid of that there, you can also type it out. So in order to type this, it has to match exactly. And whenever you have a space in your tab name, you do need to put it within apostrophes. So I have apostrophe more data, that's the name of the tab, and a close apostrophe, and then to tell it that it's the end of the sheet name, we use an exclamation mark. So more data, exclamation mark, and we're just going to do A through D. That's going to capture those entire columns. Now, sometimes you may want to consider the fact that there is a header in there. So for example, A2 through D might be more accurate. I'm going to actually leave it this way just so we can have a discussion about something here in just a second. But just keep in mind that you don't have to start at the second row. You could have done the entire thing. What we're searching for isn't in the header. If it was, that might be another challenge, might be why you'd want to remove it. So keep that in mind. So now, let's add the comma in. The index is the number of columns over that the data is from that search key. So in other words, from the ID number, how many columns over is that data? Now just to view that real quick, we can jump over here and just view this. So the ID number here is in column A, that's column 1, then we've got column 2, column 3, and column 4. So the index in that fourth column is a 4. So I'm going to jump back over here. It's trying to put in some, trying to put in some data there for me. Let me get rid of that. And we're just going to type in a 4 here. So search key is A2, ID number. Range is the entire second tab, columns A through D, A2 through D. Index is the fourth column over. And then this last one is the data sorted? I always type false here. The only reason that you may not want to type false is if there's a giant data set. What false means is that the data is not sorted, so it's going to look through the entire set of data. If you put true here, it means that it's sorted, and it would only look until it found the number you're trying to match, and then it would go back and try and find the next thing. So like I said, unless your data is really big and you're trying to save processing power, I would go ahead and always put false here. We'll go ahead and put our close parenthesis in and hit enter. So it is going to suggest that we fill this down. I'm actually going to do that this time, and I'll show you why here in just a second. So we'll click that, but let's go ahead and take a look at what we've got here. So VLOOKUP is searching for the ID number, and it's looking for the number that matches there in that fourth column. Now let's go down to the next one and look. So in this case, we're searching for A3, and we're searching through more data A3 through D right here. Fourth column over, false. If we keep going down, you'll notice something is shifting. We talked about this in our average video where it's shifting down. In this case, what that means is as we keep going down the list here, we're getting to a point where it can't find the data because it's not searching high enough up in the data. So this one here is actually searching for A20. This student's quiz score is higher up than row 20. So there is a fix for that. So up here, you can either double click and enter it right here, or you can click up in the function bar. If you add a $sign in front of a number or a letter and you try to fill down, it won't shift that data. So I'm going to go ahead and hit enter here. It still gives us the exact same thing, but now when I fill down, notice it has not shifted the data. We're still at A2 through D. A2 through D right here. And we can do that all the way down to the bottom. That's going to make sure that we don't get all of these errors that we're getting here, and it's going to bring in all the data. So there we go. Scrolling back up. That is a really quick, simple way that we can use the VLOOKUP function to bring two sets of data into the same tab of a spreadsheet. So great use, great way to bring together data so that it's all in one place.